Welcome to the Lara Jane Layton Show. This podcast is for you, the person who keeps putting others first. Your self-talk has held you back. You no longer need to take a second seat. Let's explore ways to overcome self-doubt. You can silence that inner bully voice and achieve your full potential. Here's your host, Lara Jane.
Hello, listener. I am so excited to have a new best friend with me today, and her name is Samantha. And for the last little bit, we just kept chit-chatting because we are so much alike in the things that we want to share with you. And so I am excited to introduce Samantha to you. The topic we're going to talk about is the one thing you can do to protect your energy unapologetically. And I'm really excited because I know there's thousands of ways to do this, but if I can find one, I'm all in. So Samantha, teach me this one magical thing.
Okay, thank you for that beautiful introduction. So my name is Samantha Rigg, and I've been in the corporate environment for decades and also had a spiritual awakening. So I've got that split position there. Now, what I learned from my journey being in corporate and the spirituality is how to really protect your energy so that you can become a resilience builder, and how to do it quickly, unapologetically, in order to really, I think, change your life so that you're not running around. I think if we avoid really addressing situations up front, what can happen to us is that the cycle repeats in other ways in our life. And when we really anchor into who we are and our feelings around things, we can really push back quite quickly and change our lives so we don't have to suffer or have repeat cycles. So what I've done and what I do now is I match and level up the energy. So when something comes at me really fast and it's not what I want to receive, I'll actually front it right there and then. So it's almost like, say, if a child goes to put something in a socket cord and you say stop, it literally is almost like that immediate result. So if somebody comes at me in a certain tone or a manner that I choose not to take on board, then I actually elevate it, match it, and stop it. But I also do that in a way that is fit for me, so I don't become them or mirror what they're doing, but I bring my energy level up to it. And I could almost say it's like my energy overshadows that with what the other person has. So I feel myself being bigger, and I just really, I go at it like someone's, sort of said, go at it with your life, or it depends on it. And that's what I do. And it actually, for me, what I've found, and I've had much practice, what I've found over the years with practice is that the other person retreats very quickly, and it doesn't matter how big, how scary, how fierce, how aggressive they are, they actually always retreat, always.
Wow, that would be amazing, because I've had plenty of angry people come at me, and I have just backed down. It's like not worth the fight right now. And I end up giving them my power instead of being able to maintain that power. So what is that secret ingredient that helps you to keep your power and diffuse that negative energy coming to you?
For me, what it was is like a lot of trial and error. And the more I practiced, the greater confidence I actually got with it. The results from the exterior were the same. So it would continue to happen. And the suffering on the inside for me was getting a lot bigger and bigger and bigger. So what I ended up doing was really looking at my own personal boundary and what I was prepared to tolerate, and then having the courage to speak my voice and speak it very clearly. The other challenge that I had with that was, at first I was kind of replicating what the person was giving me. So if they would come at me with full force, then I tried going back at them with full force, so that your tone, your voice level would raise. That doesn't work either.
There are so many books and guidance things that tell you to mirror and to just, meet them where they're at and then help move it. And it didn't work real well for me. And one of the main reasons it didn't work for me is I didn't want to be that. I didn't want to match them at that level, because that took my energy away to be there.
Yes. Yeah, 100% agree with that. And it really is, it's almost like this, it's like a force, and it builds up in you. And I think if you could imagine it like all of you as a complete and whole, beautiful person, and all of that energy, instead of sort of moving down with that energy, is bringing it right up into the forefront, to the core of you. And you're still holding your ground. You're holding with a very confident tone of voice, but the other person on the receiving end really, I think they come across, they feel what's going on with you. And when you approach it with this, and I think if we were to put it with a word, it's confidence. So when you deliver something with confidence, it's undeniable. And that's where it becomes unapologetic. And it's delivering things the way you want to deliver them, not how you think the other person should receive them. And that, for me, we often try to deliver a message to another person in a way that, especially when the other person's in a confrontational manner, we often try to deliver a message in a way that either appeases the situation or we try and be the aggressor too. None of those things actually work, because the person will keep coming back. So it really is stepping forward and saying, not putting up with what's coming at me at this moment, and that's it.
And when you do this, is it actual physical movement and words? Like you literally step forward? Or is it just a figurative?
No, I raise and I stand. If you look in nature, there's so many indications of this. And it wasn't that I looked at nature for the answer. That's always a fabulous place to look. But what it was is that through trial and error over many, many years, I was able to, I think you naturally, as you go over time, you naturally build a learning, because we are learning beings. Eventually what happens is I found the voice. And then with the voice, with the strength, with the voice, my whole body jumped into position as well. So it's just a full impact kind of thing that happens. And you can do it in a way that's not aggressive. You can do it in a way that is really authentic to yourself. But it really is just anchoring into and making the decision within what you will tolerate, what you will not tolerate, and when it's appropriate for people to speak to you in a way and when it's not. So it's really defining your own personal parameters that gives you that strength. And unfortunately, it also takes practice. So there's not a quick shortcut.
Yeah, because when I feel attacked, I want to fight. I yes. come in with a very aggressive, and it's not really the best way. I want to say to be the bigger person, because that's the common saying, but to be your own self. You've let yes. go of your authenticity to fight back, and I don't want to fight. And so to me, I've tried it all. I've tried the walking away. I've tried all these things. And I haven't found the one thing that always works, for me. And I know if I take a couple deep breaths and think about who am I and what do I really want, but I have to have time for that response instead of reaction. And my first reaction is fight or flight. It's one of the two. And I love the stand your ground. It's, I am here. These are my boundaries, and this is what I need to do. And I'm sure practice is going to help, but just having that initial confidence to do it the first time. Did you just have to do extra breathing? Calm yourself.
Listening to what you've just said, and it makes me reflect back, is I decided that's actually what I did. I decided at one point that this is how I'm going to show up every single time. So it doesn't matter what's going on in my environment. I'm prepared. I'm emotionally impaired. And when things happen, you already know what to do. So rather than wait for a situation that is inevitable, because you are always going to meet people in your life, always. So rather than wait for them to arise, decide exactly before, and then when the situation comes about, it means that you're already prepared. You've got all your equipment, you've got everything you need, you've got the emotional, you've got the spiritual, you've got your emotion. When I say emotional as well, I'm talking about emotional intelligence. So it's the ability to respond in a manner that's in line with who you are, with your core being, with your soul. And that in itself gives you the strength. When you decide every morning, this is how I'm going to show up and this is how I'm going to be treated today, and I am not going to accept anything less for myself, that changes everything. It doesn't matter what goes on in your world. You can choose not to respond. You can choose to tell someone to stop. I'm not listening. Go back to your chair. Or you can choose to have a conversation with them and say, I feel it's inappropriate the way you're talking to me. Maybe you need to go and check in with yourself and come back to me when you're ready to speak to me. Fine.
Do they walk away when you do that? Or do they look at you and go, like, what?
Okay. So going back some years, I actually did read, there's a author, and he published a book. I cannot remember his name now, but he published a book on, he worked in hostage situations. And I tried, so this is going back years, what he said is that, when you're in negotiations, you just keep asking why. So when anyone says something, and what I found with that is the person came next to me and stood and then tried to help me. And this is in a corporate environment, and diffuse the situation. And so that worked, but it didn't stop the onslaught. So it was always coming. So what I ended up actually doing is, what I do now is I hold my ground immediately. So when I know it's coming, because you can feel the energy shift and you can feel the frustration in the environment, what I do is I set in and go, okay, what will I tolerate? What will I not? So I set my boundary before anything even happens. And this is kind of when I say, when you get up in the morning and you decide, how am I going to be treated today? How am I going to show up in the world? By presetting your day and choosing how your world's going to shape around you, you already set the parameters. So what happens is when you respond, and the person knows, I'm not going anywhere with the conversation, I'm just telling you right now, no, it ends, and they walk away.
Wow. I could have used that years ago.
Me too.
So here's a question. With more and more work being done remote, sometimes I don't see things coming until I get a call or I get a message and I need to respond. The nicest part about this remote is I have time to respond. I don't have to have that immediate reaction. I can let the call go to voicemail. I can let the email sit aside until I'm ready to address it. So that's kind of the nice piece, but it also surprises me more because you don't see it starting to build up like you did when you're always in person. So do you have tools for both, or you've just have got this so mastered that?
That's an excellent question, because that brings me then to the point where we internalize the emotion. So it doesn't matter that the situation isn't direct or in person, the emotion still and the energy, and you call it energy in motion, that still sits within your core, because as humans, we're kind of learned, and as a survival technique, we learn how to respond to certain things. So always your response is going to be the same. So if there's conflict brewing, or there's going to be a challenge, or there's a challenging person, what we tend to do is we focus on that and we give it more energy. And what happens is our interpretation of the message also becomes our own distortion. And then it becomes a distraction in our work, and it can impact our personal excellence, because we become focused more on that than what we should be doing, which is focusing on ourselves. And I guess if we're to break the whole conversation down into one piece, it really is about what we let into our energy, how we choose to respond, and how we show up to set our own personal boundaries around our life, no matter whether it's happening in email, in person, in a delayed response, like we're choosing not to respond. And it's really in those delayed responses, we really get an opportunity to say, is this something that I want to put my energy into, or do I want to put my energy into propelling myself forward and getting the opportunities and being the best I can be and being my authentic self?
I know that for me, I had no clue who my authentic, and I know that my authentic self is in there and it's coming out more and more, but there's still growth and there's still changes, because there's life isn't perfect yet, but I'm working on it. But I love to look at the little babies who don't have all this training to please, smile so everybody likes you, be quiet, don't cry. All these, you may not have ever had to hear it, but you are trained with the reactions you're getting from others. And so you go into this corporate world and you think, smile and everybody will like me. Everybody is not going to like everybody. I think, who was it that I was talking to recently, and I'd seen the quote before, is you can be the juiciest peach out there, and there's still going to be people that don't like peaches. So it's just, we're not for everybody. And it's finding your tribe. You and I kind of chatted about that, is just finding those people who just gel with you and have those same goals, because when I have people around me, I have more strength to set those boundaries, because I don't feel like I'm doing it on my own. Even though I might be all by myself at the time, I know I have a tribe behind me that supports who I am and what I do. And so for me, that's helpful, of having like-minded people in my court.
Yeah, it's so true. And it's also, that brings me to the elimination piece, is if things and people don't gel with you, just get rid of them. And you can't do it quickly with all people, but the sooner you do, and this comes right back to the energy piece again, is the sooner you do, the sooner you start to put things in your world that fill your heart, the sooner your life will flow. And life isn't going to be that easy, and sometimes it'll be really easy, but it's about where am I spending my time? Am I spending my time thinking about something that isn't moving me forward? Or am I spending my time about, connecting with those things that I'm passionate about, that light me up, that make my heart sing? It really does come back to that piece of, don't be afraid to be yourself. Don't be afraid to show up. And the moment you accept yourself, whether someone likes you or not, it really doesn't matter because you like yourself,
That is what I preach the most because you can't please everyone. So you have got to make sure you are doing the things for your life, your soul to be happy. Life's temporary. We don't need to be miserable.
Yeah, I think for me, I read something the other day, what would you tell your 20-year-old self? Like I'm 50. So, and I think, and you've talked about when, as children we come and we do our own thing. We don't worry about anything else. I wish for everybody to anchor into who they are and love themselves for how they are and just accept that, we're already perfect, we're already complete, we're already whole, and it doesn't matter what's happening outside of you in your world. If you don't like it, don't pay attention to it or shift it or move yourself and create the space for things that you love because your time here is so short.
I love to create the space for the things you love because we get so busy with the things that we feel like we need to do that we don't make room for the things that are important to us. And I mean, as a corporate busy manager, executive, whomever, that stress of staying employed, and even though you could be the best employee ever, you still are going to wonder every day if you're showing up and you're doing the work because somebody else is judging you. It's not you. And it's same with friends and family. Is if you're trying to blend in with a group, you are dependent on them. So, and the other quote that I like is, if you're fitting in, you're not being authentic. Yeah. If you belong, you are. And so finding those people that you just belong with and the ones that allow you to be you and not expect you to be all these different things. I need you to be able to do this, and then I'll like you. That's not the person for me. If it doesn't come naturally, if you don't like me for what comes naturally out of here, it's too much work.
It's so true. And it's such a shame some of us learn that so late.
Yes, I'm older than you, so I agree.
But it is. It's actually life-changing because you start going within and you start looking at your life from a perspective of, okay, what do I want to do? How do I want to show up? But talking about that, the executive woman, I guess one of the things that I brought into my life, because I juggle a lot of things, is one of the things that I brought into my life is actually getting up just a little bit earlier and doing what matters to me the most. So then it doesn't matter what happens in the rest of my day. So that if we're talking about a practical thing that I do, it's prioritizing myself first thing. And that actually has changed my day. If my day things crop up or I don't get done what I needed to by the end of the day, knowing that I have every morning to show up for myself and do things that matter to me the most. I mean, this is so true about a woman in a corporate job that wants to start a side hustle or, it's getting that extra piece of time every morning that is just for what matters to you, whether you're creating, whether you want to get more fitness, whether it's you want to learn to still the mind. Finding that small pocket of time in the morning and doing that and committing to that will change everything.
I get distracted sometimes when you say like, okay, I want. It's like when is it Stephen Covey that says we listen to respond, not to understand, and we need to switch that up. But you were talking about, and now I forgot what I was going to look up. Oh, The Morning Miracle is a book that does talk about exactly what you're talking about, is getting up and spending that initial point of every day in the things that are going to make a difference to you, the things you want. Because if you've ever seen that little story problem where you have all the balls that fit in a vase, and if you fill it up with the sand first, all the important stuff doesn't fit. It's get the things that are important in there first, and then it all fits. And so it's really just learning how to prioritize and identify the things that are most important, and then let the rest fall as it may. And it falls kind of a tough.
It's true. And I think I have the book. I haven't read it, The Miracle Morning, and you don't need to read the book. Really, the core thing is do the one thing that's most important to you in the morning. So if it's starting a business, work on your business. If it's getting fit, get fit. If it's stilling the mind, do your meditation or your wellness practice. But it literally is doing that one thing that's important to you right now. Because I find when you try and do multiple things, you'll miss the morning. Mm-hmm. So it's just sticking with that and don't worry about doing many things. Just do one thing and do it as best as you can. And then by the end of the day, all the other pieces fall into place anyway. And, you know, when you're working long hours, and you come home and you promise that you're going to do the exercise or, you know, work on your business or do whatever, you not always have that mental alertness to be able to. And when you flip it over and you do what's important in the morning, your mind's clear and you're ready to go. So you just give yourself that productivity that you can be challenged to get much later in the day after a day's events.
What a big difference than wondering all day long, when am I going to have time to meditate? I got to make sure. Maybe I'll do it at lunch. Oh, wait, I got too busy. Maybe I'll do it right after work. Oh, wait, I got too busy. I'll do it right before bed. Oh, wait, I'm too tired. When you take that number one priority that you have and you keep pushing it out, you are telling yourself you're not important. And you may not know what your priorities are. And that's where coaches and stuff come in to help you identify what's important and what can you do and help bring out that information from you, because coach doesn't know the answers. They only are here to help support you in your journey. And so if it's figuring out what your priorities are, someone can help. Yes, you can do it yourself. I know lots of people, but I know more people who have struggled with it than actually got it done. And so any way you can do it, whether it's 5 minutes in the morning or whatever you set aside. So I agree. And it's really, what is that 10-minute thing you want to do?
Yeah. And that's actually, you take me to, I've been creating information about goal setting, and that actually, the one thing that sits behind the goal, so, you've got SMART goals and everything, but the one thing that sits behind you actually accomplishing that goal is the value. So it's actually working out what your personal values are. So it's why you want it. And when you work that out, and there's actually two questions that you ask yourself, but you go through the goal exercise, get what you want, and then you actually ask yourself two questions at the end of it. And then also when you set your goal, instead of planning forward, you actually plan back. So you write your goal and then you physically stand there, put your goal in front of you on a piece of paper and take a step back, and then ask yourself, what did I do to get to that point? Then you take another step back and then you go, what did I do to get to that point? And that then actually the physical action applying to standing there, having achieved the goal and then taking the step back actually anchors you into it. Whereas what we normally do with goal setting is we go, I want to do this. I want to exercise. I want to go on whatever you want to do. But we actually don't. The reason we don't achieve it and don't get there is because we haven't really considered, which should be the first point of the goal, but it's not. What's it going to get us? Right. What's it going to take to get there? And why is it important to us? We can do it and achieve it, and we don't have to sustain it forever. It's something that's because we want it. I mean, we've also got to really understand, is it really something we want for us, or is it something someone else wants for us? Because you waste a whole lot of energy.
That's a big one, because we do so much for other people. And I'm going to generalize, and this is rude but we're women. And we're nurturers, and that's how we were built. And that nurturing takes care of other people. And that's when we feel value, because I helped you. But it's that same saying with put your own mask on first. If you do not take care of yourself, you're going to lose the energy to take care of others. And so really is setting yourself as that number one priority of what are my values? What are my goals? And doing that so that you can then focus on all of the other things that make us feel good. I love to help people. So that's never going to go away.
I know, I love helping and can't help but help. And that can be to your detriment as well. So
not if you take care of yourself first, though, right?
Yeah. And it kind of almost, the conversation's almost gone back to where we began is those boundaries, setting that, I guess you'd call it maybe a platform for yourself to leap off every morning. So you've got the practice of getting up just the extra little bit early, aligning your values to your goals, and with the exercise to make sure it's something you want by taking the steps backwards from the goal and working out how you got there rather than working out how to get there. Go back and work out how you got there and write those steps down.
I kind of like that idea that you're talking about is stepping back, because you then are showing that you've made progress. And it's not forever in the future, because sometimes we look at things and we forget we've already moved forward. We've already grown. We've already gotten better. And so you always feel like you're in this huge climb for this huge, got to get to the top of the mountain. You're already halfway there. And you just got to look back and realize I've made it so far. And so that stepping back and like, how did I get here? And why do I want to go there? Gives you that power.
And it really comes back to setting your boundaries. You get that power again. So we really talked about empowering women today.
Yes, we did. Throw that other subject away. No, this has been great. And the time has flown by. So I do want to keep talking to you. I just wanted to mention, let our sponsor jump in here for just a moment. And then when we come back, what I want to do is kind of go back through that checklist. We've talked about these items today, and then how or what would be a next step for our listener to move forward and become more empowered. So be right back.
This podcast is sponsored by Lara Jane Coaching. You know you're ready to silence your inner bully voice. Let Lara Jane support you with coaching. To schedule an introduction call, go to larajanelayton.com.
We're back, and I'm so excited to hear this list. So, we have talked about boundaries and how to set them up unapologetically. And we've kind of rotated through how we set our priorities, how we prioritize ourselves and make sure something is done first thing in the morning, or if you're not a morning person, second thing in the morning, one after you get done sleeping, whatever. But it's, those steps of how just to get there. And I love your analogy when you talked about standing up, first thing in the morning, you decide who you're going to be that day. And then if something comes up, you stand up and you physically let your body make that change of, I am empowering myself to stand my ground and to have people stay within these boundaries that I've set. And I think that that's so powerful. So
I'm loving hearing you say that. It is empowering just listening to you.
I heard it from you.
I know, but when you hear it, it's such a beautiful thing. And you can see the strength in people's posture and everything. It's empowering in itself. Like I just, I love seeing people shine and grow, and hearing you. There's a strength that comes through when you, and we're talking about this energy transfer. When I'm listening to you talk right now, and you can see, you're embodying the discussion. It's beautiful.
Oh, well, thanks. That's why, I really thought I wouldn't like doing these interviews, and I kind of pushed them off because I do like people. I have always had a hard time with those boundaries and letting people walk all over me. And I feared that this was going to be like that. But I have been, and I'm going to use this word that I used to hate. I have been so blessed.
Yes.
That the right people for the listener have come together for this, because every episode I have recorded has been amazing and something new and another way of looking at it. It's kind of like that story about the elephant and the blind people, and they were up touching the elephant and telling them what this animal looked like. And they all had different descriptions. We are all blind, and we are all experiencing this world from this standpoint of, this is what I feel, this is what I do, and we're not seeing it from the full perspective. And so each person is teaching me that pretty soon I'm going to see this whole elephant.
Yeah. And that, if anyone was to say, what's the meaning of life? I think you just nailed it.
Seeing the whole elephant.
Yeah. Yeah. It's clearing your lens so that you can see unapologetically your view of the world, and hold your space and hold your ground and be the powerful woman that you came here to be.
And then the one thing I want to add to that is allowing everybody else in your life to stand their ground and to be them, and to not expect them to change just because I don't like it. So yes, I want to do that, but I also want to allow everybody else to be that person too.
It's such an important point. I wish I'd have thought of that.
You don't have to. The universe just brought it to you.
It's such an important point. Yeah.
But that's really the art of allowing is, to me, so important. And when I start getting really annoyed, I have to breathe and just allow. It's like, you know what? They are in their journey. I can't judge their journey. I can't change their journey, but our paths are crossing for a reason. Mm-hmm. And I just need to allow that crossing of paths.
That's so well said. Thank you.
All right. Well, we are at the end of time. And so what I want is to give you that last, and I say this every time, last bit of wisdom that we didn't already cover that I just know is in you. So what is that last bit that you would like to share with our listener today?
Everything that you need comes from within, and it's learning to accept that first voice that's always there. It's always there, and accept that first voice. When you accept that first voice, your life will change because you'll listen and follow the action, and you will become happy from that. And that's the source to happiness. It's that inner voice and listening to that.
I agree. Happiness is from within. There's not anything external that will make you happy. if it's not inside.
Yep.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Samantha. I have totally loved spending the last hour with you. And listener, Samantha and I are not medical professionals. We are here as people that have been there and done that and can support everybody else on their path.
Are you tired of waking up exhausted? You are not alone. If you're looking to take your life back, let's start with the simple step of adjusting your self-talk. Stay tuned for the next episode with your host, Lara Jane. Remember to follow the show so you don't miss a next simple step that you can use to feel more confident. And please leave an honest review.